is what you're made of. You are perfect and pure, even if you're not sure. It's what you're made of. L-O-V-E, love.
Maybe you can. Yeah. That's what we teach here at Unity. You can do anything you want. I was blessed to have a mom that actually made me feel like I could fly over the rainbow if I wanted to. She said, I know whatever you do in life, you'll be successful. I just want you to be happy. Just pick something that you'll be happy doing. And I am so happy sharing the truth with you, sharing my experience, my spiritual experience with all of you, sharing the truth that I found in Unity and in all spiritual teachings throughout my life. There's no greater thing I could be doing in life. Nothing would make me happier than being right here, right now, living in the moment with you. I'm so grateful. So today's Mother's Day, and there's no better way to celebrate than to acknowledge with love and gratitude the Mother of Unity, Myrtle Fillmore. Unity would not be Unity without Myrtle. I don't think Charles would have been nearly as successful. Myrtle Fillmore was not only a clear channel for the healing powers of the divine. We talked last week about her healing story, and she just wanted to share that experience with everyone. But she not only was a clear channel for healing, she could put into words the heart of spiritual teaching, which became the very foundation of the Unity movement. Myrtle's words made simple the often complex spiritual concepts in New Thought metaphysical Christianity. Even just saying that sounds complex. New Thought metaphysical. Right? It's like, what's that? I remember so many years ago, somebody asked me, what's metaphysical Christianity? And I looked around, like at the group of people I was with, and I said, I'll see you later. It was just like, I knew it wasn't going to happen. Whatever I said was not going to be understood at that particular moment. But Myrtle had a unique ability to make that very simple and to express that to people. The teachings of Myrtle and Charles Fillmore hold true even to this day. And they serve as guidance to many students of truth who seek to demonstrate the Spirit of God lives within you. This is the two of them when they were a little younger, when they're first starting Unity. You know, Charles was often seen as, somebody said, nice hairdo. It's coming back, isn't it? Wow, from the early 1900s. But the two of them, Charles was often seen as the intellect behind Unity teaching, and Myrtle was the heart of the movement. But I really see these roles as interchangeable and fluid. The heart and the mind as one. Just two people joined together for a single purpose. Sometimes Myrtle was the heart, but sometimes she was the intellect. And Charles was the one who had to go into his heart. But together they formed an unstoppable commitment and of spiritual power that it's really reached millions and millions of people around the world. And it spanned over 130 years of unity in this world. Last week I talked about Myrtle's healing journey, which began with the statement that she was told directly from a guy named E.B. Weeks, which was, you are a child of God and therefore you do not inherit sickness. Well, I had an occasion this week to practice that particular statement. Today is May 10th, right? My dad passed away May 10th, 30 years ago today, from complications due to melanoma, skin cancer. So this week I noticed this mark on my arm. I said, what is that? And of course, my mind's going, I'm my dad's son, right? I have the same skin. And then I was like, what were you just teaching on Sunday? You're a child of God. You do not inherit sickness. Do you believe that? Was the other voice in my head. And that voice was a lot stronger. But the story comes from a negativity bias. Lily's teaching me not to get mad at myself if I have a negative thought. They're not very useful anymore, but they were useful at one time because negative thoughts kept you safe from danger. But we don't need them most of the time in the modern world. They're just fear thoughts that have no basis in reality. So I said, let me find out if this has any basis in reality. I took a photo with my phone and I asked AI. So a long time ago, a friend of mine, said if you want to increase your fear thoughts, just ask WebMD. So this was a very similar experience for me. It was a good photo. They accepted the photo. It came back with 3 possibilities. The first one, it's a bruise. That's cool. A bruise. The next one I couldn't pronounce. It was supercalifragilisticexpialitosis. I don't know. And the third option was malignant melanoma. Which one do you think my mind went to? So all the while, I got 2. This is a perfect example of what we go through. I've got the human mind and I got the truth. I'm a child of God. I do not inherit sickness. Malignant melanoma. Your dad died from malignant melanoma. Right? So that voice is going. And the other voice starts getting a little bit louder. And also, it starts getting a little bit deeper. I do not inherit sickness. I'm a child of God. I'm also a child of my mother, who's Portuguese, had very good skin. That's besides the point. The real point was that when I got home, I told Lily, I'd fallen into fear. This is what I did. I asked AI a question I should have been asking my dermatologist. It gave me the right answer. It was a bruise, I found out on Friday. But the third option is the one my mind focused on because of the negativity bias. So I was in fear, and I went home, and I told Lily I was in fear, and she says, do you want to stop for a minute and breathe with me? Do you want to stop? And when I stopped, just connected with another person in the energy of truth, breathing in the peace of that moment, all the fear melted away. So it didn't even matter what it was, because in that moment, I'm not a body. So I went, if I'm a child of God, and I do not inherit sickness, I'm not even a body. I'm a spirit. I'm a perfect spirit that can manifest the body in any way that my soul chooses, if it's for my highest good and the highest good of all, in accordance with my soul contract here on earth. Oh, that's metaphysical Christianity. I didn't have those words to tell that person those many years ago. But that's pretty much it. So it has to be for the highest good of all, in accordance with my soul's contract for my purpose here on earth. And I think that's very important, that we all have a contract for what we are to do here on earth. And when we've accomplished that purpose, then our mission is over. We may decide to go home. We may decide to take on another purpose in life. But it's up to you. It's deep within you. So what happened when I joined with Lily is I got in touch with my soul. All of a sudden I knew it's not my soul's contract to follow my dad's example of, oh, by the way, I'm 67 and he was exactly 67 years old. 30 years ago today, when he passed away. And he's still with me, of course. But in that moment, I realized something much deeper, and that is to get in touch with my soul, with my soul's contract here on earth. And to fulfill that contract is for the highest good of all. So it's very important for us to not only be in meditation by ourselves, but to join with others in those times of fear. So of course, when I saw my dermatologist, he said it was a bruise. And I said, okay, that was the first option that AI gave me. And so that was a great relief. I mean, I was crying at the prospect of having malignant melanoma. And then a couple days later, I was crying at the relief of not having it. This human journey is something else, isn't it? Boy, your emotions are like, woo, what a ride. The adventure continues. But the place I want to bring us here today is that finally something happens where the old life and the old self kind of the voice loses its energy, loses its importance. You know, that negativity bias isn't so prominent, and something else takes over. And what takes over for me always is the experience of truth. And all of us, sooner or later, come to that experience. In Myrtle Fillmore's book, How to Let God Help You, right in the beginning, in the preface, she says, all of us, sooner or later, come to the place in our development where we are no longer satisfied to go on living the old life. The old life without the knowledge of our oneness with God, the source of our being. Sometimes when we reach this point in our soul's progress, we do not at first know just what is taking place. We may become restless and dissatisfied. We may go through experiences which we don't understand. We may even be required to think that our good, tempted. We may be tempted to think that our good has gone from us altogether. But just as surely as there is God, the one presence and the one power, we shall find that. And we shall find that we are but going from one room into another, larger, lighter room. It's just there's more light. Amen. It's a larger room because it includes more light. It includes more souls. It includes more truth. It includes more expansion of the love that you are. When you find that you are one with the source of your being, you're able to help others discover that truth as well. And that was Myrtle and Charles's whole life was dedicated to helping others discover that truth. She certainly had that change of mind that would come. But her husband, Charles, he was a little more methodical about it. Myrtle had the faith. She had a mother's faith. You know, during the meditation, when we went back to when we were kids, and the moms just kind of have to let you go. Discover life for yourself. It's impossible to control. Sometimes. I know that. But that's what we have to do in terms of not only with our family, but with our community, with our friends. We have to trust. But we also have to be there. Like the mother. I could always come home. I came back home every time I got into trouble. Until I was 50 years old. I always came back home. Mom, I'm out of money. I need a place to live. Can I do my laundry? When I was in college, I used to bring my laundry with me. I always came home. I moved out of the house when I was 17, but I moved back in about 6 times. And she would always welcome me back. And inevitably, she would always have to let me go again. And so Myrtle kind of had the same experience with her husband. She had to let him come to the spiritual experience himself. He came to it in his own way. He said, okay, it's not happening for me. I'm not getting the results. I'm not having any physical healing. What's going on? I'm going to start going into prayer and getting into the silence. And he did so for hours every day for weeks and weeks and weeks. And he still wasn't getting the results he thought he should have. And he thought, well, maybe it just doesn't work for everybody. Maybe I'm never going to have the same experience as Myrtle, this miraculous healing. But one day, something miraculous did happen. He found God, and God found him. He found the divine. He was looking for something physical, something material, and he found the spiritual. He found the Spirit of God within him and all around him. And in that particular moment, he knew the healing was certain. And he did experience healing. It took time for him. It took time for Myrtle too. It took 2 years for her to heal from tuberculosis. And it took a lot of time for Charles to manifest the healing that he was looking for. But he wasn't concerned with it anymore. He wasn't looking for the physical results. He had found God. He had found Spirit, the source of his being. So it takes a great deal of faith and trust to let go and let God without trying to control the outcome of things, without looking to the results. Because the greatest thing you can find is your own being. It's to find God within you. To find God within you. That's what you're really looking for. Everything else will manifest around that. Everything. It takes a deep inner fortitude to leave the ego and the personality behind. Amen. To leave it out of the equation altogether. Leave that ego by the door because it's always going to get you in trouble. Myrtle also states in this book, if you would grow in understanding of spiritual things and become like a little child and let the universe of God teach you, that's when it all happens. That's when it unfolds. The Spirit of good. She didn't say the Spirit of God. She said the Spirit of good. This is the same thing. Do not strain your intellect in trying to understand the mighty questions of life, she says. Wait until you have developed faculties which can comprehend them. That's what happened with Charles. By being in the silence and meditating for hours and hours every day for weeks on end, he was developing the spiritual faculties, the faculties that really understand, the experiential faculties. Then he was able to comprehend from a different place. She says there is a running to and fro among men that will never cease so long as they try to explain spiritual things with the intellect. Listen to the stillness within your own soul, and you will find it resonant with a new tongue. Listen to the stillness of your own soul, and you will find it resonant with a new language. The language of spiritual truth. It's almost impossible to explain with the intellect, but when you experience it with your heart, you'll be able to express it to others, to join with others in that place. When I came home full of fear, thinking, oh my goodness, I might have something wrong with me. Lily was there resonating in a different language, an energetic language, and then brought me right in. And all the fear dissipated. What's amazing about that is most of the time, in most of our lives, we are running around fearful of the things that are never going to happen, like in the song, Living in the Moment. And it's because we have memories. are memories of being on earth. My memory of my dad passing away when he was 67. Now, I still feel like I'm 18 years old. So people have to keep reminding me that your body's actually 67. Like, that's impossible. I don't feel like that. But somehow that fear consciousness gets to be a habit. Gets to be a habit. And you start allowing your mind to go places and tell you stories. And you focus on that. And you're missing the moment. I was missing the moment. Well, not for long. For like maybe a day. I'm very grateful to be living with somebody who's in the moment. And that's a lot like Charles and Myrtle. We read in their book one time when they said, okay, everything we have, all of our life, everything we have or expect to have, everything we receive, we are going to give to this purpose of developing this community of truth. I don't think it was even called unity at that point. They were still spiritual scientists. They were Christian scientists at that time. They had to get rid of that name because Mary Baker Eddy sued them. You can find out all this stuff if you come to our class. Saturday, May 23rd, Charlie will teach you all this. So what happened was they didn't have a name. And they got into prayer and meditation. They were in a group. And the name came to Charles. Unity. We'll call it unity because it's the unifying of all the spiritual truths that we have experienced in our life. And that just stuck. It resonated with everyone. So they dedicated their whole lives to unity. Everything that they have or expected to have. So one day, Lily and I were sitting in our... we were sitting in our condo. No, we were sitting in Karen and Alan's condo at Halcyon. We were renting in the winter. It was a winter rental. So we didn't have a house at that point. But we said, you know what? Let's just commit ourselves. Because we've been looking for work and we've been doing jobs that we didn't like. And we've been in fear consciousness about money. We said, no, we're going to start doing everything spiritual. Everything. If 10% of everything's going to our spiritual center, we're going to dedicate our whole lives to teaching truth, and everything will come. You know the book, Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow, something like that? The money will come. Like, do what you love. So we said, okay, we're going to do exactly what our soul is calling us to do. We're going to do only what we love. And we're going to dedicate ourselves to this spiritual path. We're going to teach truth. And we made a covenant. So Charles and Myrtle Fillmore made a covenant on a certain date. And Lily was reading the book. I can't remember the date. December something. December 7th. Lily's great with that stuff. So it was December 7th. I said, we have to do it today. And we made a covenant with each other. And that's what we are doing, and we will do no matter what. Charles and Myrtle started this from that kind of covenant. They had faith that God would provide, the Spirit would provide. And all they really wanted to do was stay in contact with Spirit and bring that spiritual energy to everyone they met. In this way, we're letting Mother God, not just Father, Mother God, divine feminine, teach us, guide us, comfort us, provide for us. Mothers provide. You know, you often thought, oh, it was your dad that was providing. It was your mother who was providing. In fact, if I went to my dad and asked for anything, he'd say, go ask your mother. If Mom said, go ask your dad, we'd come out of the room and said, she said no. Mom was providing. So even more than the love of our earthly mother, the divine mother guides us through infinite love. It's not limited, it's infinite. And infinite love also contains infinite patience, infinite grace, infinite comfort, infinite openness, an ability to allow life to unfold as itself. So let's trust our divine mother. We always say, in divine timing, in divine order, with grace and ease, we trust our divine mother. We trust that we will be provided for the spiritual nourishment that we need each and every day, and that we will go out and provide that for others. And that we will be good parents in this world to our spiritual children and grandchildren, and sometimes great-grandchildren. But remember, you guys, you, and I'm talking to the men too, you also have that divine energy within you. The energy that comforts, that heals, and that provides for your offspring. All of you have spiritual students, whether you know it or not. Those are your offspring. So provide for them well and have a happy Mother's Day. I love you guys.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass. And visit us online at unityonCapeCod.org. This video was made possible in part through a grant from Unity Worldwide Ministries and the Templeton Foundation.